Good morning. Good morning. How are we this morning? This is Coffee with Pastor Jason. Myself, that is me. Yep. And we're just going to wait for a few more people to come online. There is the link down below the screen for sharing it. If you could share the link to people, then that would be really good. Yeah, just let me know how you're doing. Post in the comments if that's all right. I believe that there's a few people coming, so that'll be good. Yeah, so let's just wait about for a few people to come on. Please post in the comments, say hello. Lovely to see you this morning. Yeah, and I just want to talk about the food bank in a minute and talk about what's going on in the life of the church of Rec. So basically, at Rec Church, as you probably know, we run a food bank, and the food bank's going well. We're doing a lot of work. We're helping a lot of people now. The numbers are going up each week, and the volunteers are keen as ever, and it's great. It's great work. We got a compost bin actually, because we had a slight issue where we were getting some fresh stuff and it was already off. So basically, we were trying to think of a way that food isn't wasted. So we got a compost bin, and what we're going to do is fill the compost bin up. And then when it goes down to compost, we're going to sell the compost to support the food bank. That was a great idea, and given to me by someone, and it was great. Yeah, loved it. So that was one idea, that we're trying to help the environment and not waste anything. We're all about zero waste at the food bank. Now at the food bank, we do need some help. The main area that we need help in is a bit of admin. So if you're any good at admin, we want to hear from you. We want help in like applying for grants. If you know anybody that can apply for grants or knows how the grant system works, please do let us know, because we need all the help in that area. Now, the main area that we really need help is money. We have running costs that we need to meet, and basically we can't really continue unless we meet our running costs. So at the food bank, we need help in donations. So if you or someone is able to donate to us, the link is going into the comments right now. This will help towards the running costs of Rec Church and the food bank to keep the running going, really, and to keep the running costs going, because basically it's costing us money. We get food from supermarkets, but we don't get tins anymore because everybody went out and bought all the tins before the lockdown, and it will take about a year before tins come back into the system. So to do home deliveries, like we do a lot. We do about, I think we're doing 40 or 50 home deliveries a week. And basically we're paying for about £5 to £10 a bag to support people. And so basically money that's donated helps go towards that as well. Also, the building we're in has running costs, so we have to meet those running costs. So basically, if you're able to donate financially to us, that would be fantastic. Also, if you're a business or you know of a business that could help sponsor us per month, that would be fantastic, and it would help us to keep going. Because we're also starting to talk to the schools as they're coming back. There's a lot of parents that don't have enough food. And so basically the schools have started to get in touch with us. We do have the capacity to be able to support the schools, but where it comes into play is paying for pieces of food, so you have consistency of food, basically, because it's good to have a good diet and a consistent diet for children. And so that's what we want to do. We want to be able to provide a consistent diet for the kids. So please do, if you're able to donate financially, then you're also helping us to help the schools, to help the children. There was one other thing actually that I was going to talk about this morning, just before we begin. Yeah, we want to support the families as well, which we do anyway. We support a lot of families now in Rayleigh and beyond. We don't just do Rayleigh, we do Eastwood, Hockley, Hawkwell, Benfleet, and all those sorts of places. The food bank is going out far and wide, and it's good. It's great. It's helping a lot of people. But as I said, we have running costs that we need to meet. I did recently do a bike ride. We was hoping to raise about £1,000. We got up to £560, which will help because we're trying to upgrade the food storage area. So we did apply for a grant before from the council, but we're currently trying to talk to them because they said no the first time round. But basically, we need to upgrade the food storage area to fit fridges and freezers in. So basically, we want to provide more food and a variety of food to people. So not just tins of food or fruit and veg. We want to provide, meat and fish and things like that. So all that money goes towards those sorts of projects, and it also helps to pay staff wages as well, because we have an employed person at the food bank as well, and that will help to pay for that as well. So yeah, if you're able to donate financially, or if you're a business and you could sponsor us a month, that would be fantastic. Or if you know someone that runs a business that could sponsor us, that would be fantastic as well. So how is everybody this morning? Please do comment below. Morning, Colette. Morning, Dan. Morning, Sam. How are you guys doing? It's great to have you online with me this morning, Sunday morning. I understand that a lot of people are actually leaving their houses now and going out and about, trying to enjoy the weather with the family. So that's good. It's good to know that, and it's good to be doing that. But also don't forget about this, because within lockdown, we were all freaking out. Well, lots of people were freaking out, and it's good to have some good grounding, because if we all rush off and we get busy again, then when a crisis comes along in our lives, we freak out. And when people freak out, it's just not good. It's not good for their mental health, and it's not good in general. So let's be paying attention and giving priority to this time. You can always go out with the kids after this time. It's just 1 hour on a Sunday, 11 o'clock. It's not really that much, and it's online, so you can also watch it whilst you're out too. It's not asking you to go anywhere. But yeah, do make sure this is a priority, because I know a lot of you were coming on during this time and found it really beneficial and helpful. And it's also good to me. It's nice to know that people are on, people are watching, people are participating. It's good. It means that all time is not wasted. So that's good. So I had a couple of weeks off, and basically I needed some time to rest. We've been really busy. I've been really busy through the lockdown. I haven't really stopped because of running a food bank and building a team and building a bigger team at the food bank. And also making sure people are fed, and the provision of food. That's been really busy. We've had a great volunteer step up, and they're now leading the team at the food bank. So it means that I can go and focus on some other things like sponsorship, grants, to try and keep us going, and to keep us moving forward. So I had to take a couple of weeks off because I needed to rest. And in this time, you should find time to rest. I know some of you have kids, and that can be hard to do, but try and find some time to just rest, because what we've all just been through is actually quite stressful. And being told that you're not allowed to leave your house is actually quite stressful onto your mental well-being. And so basically, these are things that, you know, have an effect on you. And so do take some time out, take some time to rest. And essentially, we all need time to rest for our body to function. So yeah, I took a couple of weeks off, but now I am back, probably for the next 6 to 7 weeks. So this will be good. Keep coming along. I've got different things planned over the next 6 to 7 weeks. So please do keep coming online. So this week, I've got a subject called, should we wear masks or not wear masks? This is something that I've noticed, that given the current government guidelines, people are starting to ask this question. Well, when we go out the house, should we be wearing masks or should we not be wearing masks? And some people think that it's good to wear a mask. Some people think it's not really good to wear a mask. It's quite uncomfortable to wear a mask. So we have had to wear masks whilst being at the food bank and serving food. And that they are a bit uncomfortable. It's hard to breathe through them. But yeah, and it's a big question that's coming up right now of, should I wear a mask or should I not wear masks? So some businesses want you to wear a mask when visiting stores and some don't. Some schools are telling parents to send their children in with masks, yet some are saying if we keep the distance, then we should be okay. And it's confusing parents and it's confusing everybody really on whether we should be wearing masks or whether we shouldn't be wearing masks. Because essentially, we are asking ourselves the questions of, are we safe? And it's a big question because we want to be safe. We want to be healthy. And none of us want to catch this virus. I caught the virus at the beginning of the end of February, beginning of March, and it was rough, and I wouldn't want anybody else to catch it. And essentially, are we safe? You know, are we going to be okay if we don't wear a mask? What about if we do wear masks? I've heard that they just don't work. There are some scientific research that's coming out saying that masks don't really work. I believe during the pandemic, the government was actually saying masks don't work. So basically, you know, should we be wearing them at all? Who knows? And there is a lot of fear around this particular subject, and it leaves us all feeling on edge and annoyed. Essentially, we are all just wanting to go back to how it was. But we're actually getting to the point that we're not sure if we can. It's like, well, how long do we have to social distance? Like Sarah and I went out to Asda in Shrewsbury yesterday to do some of our shopping, and we had to queue up. We had to queue for about 30 minutes. We first went to Rayleigh, and the queue was so long. It was just I just didn't bother. I just said, look, let's drive to Shrewsbury. There's less people in Shrewsbury, so let's go there. And we still had to queue though. We still had to queue about 15 minutes, I think. And then when you're going around the store, people trying to keep their distance, you're trying to like dodge one another, and in your mind you're like, well, this isn't 2 meters, I can't do this. Or, you know, when you try and get something off the shelf and someone's just standing there reading the instructions of the thing that they're buying, you're like, come on, I just want to get on. So, you know, you just want to jump in front, grab the item and go. And right now we can't really be doing that. And so, but we all kind of remember how it was and, you know, how life was before this point. And we're all quite concerned really on what the future holds. And really, it would be a miracle if it went back to how it was pretty soon, because given what the governments have said, it just doesn't really show that we're actually going to go back to how it was anytime soon. So today, I'm going to actually talk about a similar society way back in the biblical times, and it was within the Roman world, and Jews that lived within a Roman world had their whole world changed. You see, Jewish people before the Romans used to be people of power, influence, and leadership, but then the Romans came along, and the Jews that were once leaders and once influenced in their world actually lost that title. A lot of Jews became enslaved to Romans. So they went from the top of their society ladder to the bottom of their society ladder. And all of this was crazy. Also, within a Roman town, Romans wouldn't allow one sect of people to live in one city. So if you had too many Jews in a town, they would actually get loads of them to leave so that you could have another different culture in the town. So they would rather pagans and Jews and Christians to all live together within a city, because what it meant was each sector wouldn't really talk to the other. So it became easy for a government to govern. When you have one sect of people, they all talk to one another and they almost govern themselves. So it actually removes the point of having a governance. So that's what Romans did. They would actually oust loads of people from the city and say, like, there's too many Jews here, you've got to go. And the Romans would come along, the soldiers, and turf them out their own houses and be like, you're gone, goodbye, see you later. And this whole fiasco, they never knew when this was going to happen. They never knew like how many Jews they had in a town. And it was always the Jews that were picked on. It was always the Jews that were like, that they went after, and they threw them out. And so basically the Jewish people, their whole world had changed. What they knew of old, wealth, status, and a very comfortable life had changed. The world was now very different, and the Jews always wondered if God was going to come back to make it all right again. Yet Paul starts to teach these Jews about Jesus and said to them, essentially, everything has changed and it's all completely different now. So he's even gone and touched on their religion and their faith part. So the Jews believed that a Messiah would come at some point, and a lot of Jews hadn't realized that the Messiah had been and gone. And so they're still of the mindset, we keep praying to Jehovah and he'll send the Messiah. And then you got this guy Paul that's come along, who grew up as a Jewish, as we believe, a Jewish slave, but in a Roman city. And his actual parents were released from slavery. So he became a Roman. And if you was a Roman, you were allowed to stay in a city for the rest of your life. You didn't ever get turfed out. You had really great like a lifestyle, a really good lifestyle, and really good things happening for you. You had a lot of favor on your life as a Roman. And so Paul comes along into this Roman city and writes to them and starts saying, look, Jewish people, everything's changed. Your life's completely changed, but also now your religion's changed. And as a Jewish person, you'd be freaking out. You'd be like, what the hell? What's this guy on about? And he was saying that your old ways of worshipping in the temples have now gone. And he was saying that a really profound thing at the time, that actually you and I are now the temple. But there's also a new way of worshipping God, and that is through faith and faith alone, because the Jewish people believed that the only way to worship God was through sacrifices and doing, and they had to do a lot of stuff to get the favor of God. And also, to add to it, the Jewish God is now not just for the Jews, but for everybody. So in the whole time of the Jewish faith, they just had this one God called Jehovah that they would worship, and they just understood it, that he was just their God. But now Paul's saying, well, no, he's now for everybody. Jesus has died for all, and everybody is accepted into this faith. And so as a Jew, this would confuse you even more and bring you into a similar place to where we are today. Because as a Jew, they were having like different types of masks, and with COVID, the other thing that is confusing is there's all these different types of masks, and we kind of ask what mask works, like what one is safe to wear, what one will do the job properly, and what one should I put on, what one should I wear. And similar to the Jews in Paul's time, they would ask themselves, what mask should I wear? And Jewish people in those days was a very materialistic culture. and really chase status. You see, before the Romans, the Jews loved it. They loved having the biggest sacrifices in the temple, because to get a sacrifice, you had to pay for the sacrifice from the temple courts. And so if you walked in with the biggest sacrifice, you're like in front of everybody else, look at me, look at what I've got, look at what I'm sacrificing. And Jewish people wore very nice clothes, and they were very materialistic. And basically, it was a culture that chased status. And before Jesus, or even during Jesus's time, the Jews would hide behind how much money they would spend on a sacrifice at the temple. It would be what nice clothes would they wear, and who were they with. The Jews would have different clothes for different occasions. They would use all these things as like masks to hide behind from their realness. And essentially, when you think about it, it's similar to our culture today. We wear different masks. It's not COVID masks, but different ones. For example, the masks of life are the following. Children want different phones, or in clothes like Ted Baker or Animal or Vans. You either have pretty boys or girls, or you have edgy boys and girls, and there's a mix in between. Then by what they wear, they then fit into that group. Same as the Jews in Paul's time. Or you have teenagers, same thing. In the phones, the best clothes, but this time it's to attract the eyes of a boy or girl, to giggle and laugh with. Yet by now, you guys are all over your Instagram and portraying a life that's all great. You're all wearing these masks. You see, Instagram and social media is your mask. As long as it looks good online, then life is all good, same as the Jews. Maybe you're within the 20s and 30s, so you're a young adult. You start out with your careers, you go to cooler parties, you attract richer guys and girls, you try to have nicer cars. Doesn't matter if we can fully afford the lifestyle, as we have the credit card to pay for our masks. And you all say to one another, I deserve this. I'm living my best life. It's all about what I deserve. And I want to look good in front of my friends and family. And I deserve to have that life. Doesn't matter if the masks that I am paying for, I cannot afford, and my bank balance is always in the minus. It doesn't matter, because I deserve that. Then you've got adults. Your masks are bigger. Your masks are houses, nicer, bigger cars, 4x4s, nice kids that go to the best schools for the kids. Around your friends, it's like the Jews in the temple courts with the best sacrifice. And then you've got grandparents. It's how many grandchildren you have, how you spoil them, and how old you are, and how young you look for your age. Those are your masks. You see, these masks, as we get older, get bigger and bigger, and essentially filling that ever-growing, yearning gap of the question that is there must be more to life than this. You see, we have all felt it as we have grown up and come into the world, that there is a small gap in our life. The feeling of sitting at home once Netflix is done. These feelings have come since having lockdown come upon us, when our lives have come to an abrupt halt, because we were not able to go out and see friends. We were not able to chase these thrills, to go out and party. We were not able to go and buy the latest gear. We were not able to go out and shop till our hearts were content. You see, the emptiness feeling and the gap that is in us, we were not able to feel in this time. That's why it came out in the news that more and more people were turning to online church, trying to find the plug for the gap that they were very much noticing was coming into their life. But it was always there. And we are faced with this. And we're faced with the question that when it's all said and done, and we have our masks, we then hold them and we say, there must be more to life than this. So for every generation, there is a mask. There is many cases, more than one mask. We are all like the Jews that like to hide behind their masks. Yet this is this week's story of hope, because Paul comes along to this Jewish people and starts to unpack a different way of living, a better way of living. He says to them, there is more to life than what masks you are wearing. There is more to life than living on the credit card. There is more to life than the things that you are chasing. He begins to explain that God's man, Abraham, lived a life on a credit card faith. You see, Abraham lived a life of a credit card faith. Abraham was a bit like us, spending life's credit card. You see, God would ask Abraham to go and do something, and he would do the opposite. He chose not to listen to the ways of God and do his own thing. Like we choose not to believe in the Bible or go to church because we think it's all made up or has no relevance to today's world. How could it when all this stuff is going on? When all this pain and suffering is happening? When people are rioting in our streets? How could it that God exists in this time? All the good things have gone. All the good times have gone. You're not able to go out and drink with friends. You're not able to go out and be in the bars and the clubs. You're not able to go out and go shopping. The emptiness feeling that was filled with shopping on a Sunday morning. Or perhaps some of you have thought and been advertised to yourself over Facebook that meditation or mindfulness can help us out here, right? Maybe meditation or mindfulness or yoga can fill this gap. These people that advertise this sort of thing will say those sorts of things to you. Yet I know for a fact, because I have sat and spoken to these people that live this lifestyle. And when I drill down with them, and I've gone really deep with them and had these conversations, they have always finished with the conclusion that once they've finished their meditation and started going through their day, the feeling of emptiness starts to resonate again. And if you ask them this question, well, do you find that once you've meditated, after a while, you want to go back and meditate? And they go, yeah, I do. You see, that's not filling the gap. That's putting a Band-Aid over the problem. These things are just Band-Aids to the questions of why have I got an emptiness feeling inside? You see, where is God in the emptiness? In my depression, in my anxiety? Yet as a people group, as a society, we refuse to listen to the church. It was the same in Abraham's time. For example, God told Abraham to go to the land that he would show him. But instead, Abraham decided to settle in a city in the middle of the journey. God told him to go to Canaan, but he decided to go to Egypt because there was a slight famine in Canaan. Abraham struggled, like all of us, to trust in God's ways. Instead, he would go with his own plan. When Abraham got to Egypt, he said to his wife, "Tell them you're my sister." This was because she was a beautiful woman, and Abraham knew that the Egyptians would kill him for her. Pharaoh takes his wife for his own, and then finds out when he tries to sleep with Abraham's wife that she is not Abraham's sister at all, but his wife. And you see, Pharaoh also knew that the God of Abraham, the Jehovah God at this time that Abraham served, he knew that that Pharaoh would be cursed if he slept with another man's wife. You see, sometimes, don't we wish some people would know that rule today? That cheating and adultery leads to death. It leads to the death of your marriage. It leads to the death of your partnership. It breaks hearts. It pulls you apart. It puts a javelin right through and pierces your heart and gives you the most amount of pain that you would ever feel, that the trust you just had for someone has now gone, that they have gone and slept with someone else. You see, God rescues Abraham from his stupidity and actually makes him rich. And then Abraham goes to Canaan and follows God's advice just once, though. Abraham then decides that when God says to him, "You will have a child at the age of 80 with your wife Sarah, who was 100 at the time," Abraham thought to himself, well, that's not humanly possible, but I reckon I know where God is going with this, so let me help him out. So what Abraham decides to do is he sleeps with his servant girl to have a baby. Have you ever been like this? Have you ever seen how God is unraveling a plan, but then thinks, oh, I know where God's going with this one. I'm going to go help him out. Yet that's not the plan at all. You see, Jesus actually says when he was alive on this earth, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Abraham looks at his wife and says, no way is this scientifically, historically, or naturally possible that at the age of 100, she can have a baby. Yet God says, I know what I am doing. God does deliver a baby to Abraham's wife, Sarah, at the age of 101. He does defy nature's laws. Even when things look impossible, even when we wear our masks as we believe we are solving our own issues, the issues like mountains of debt, the issues like fitting in, wearing the right clothes, the issues like having the job that pays us the most to just pay for our expensive lifestyles, like the nice cars, the expensive bottles of gin, the bigger houses, the issues like making sure our kids go to the best schools and have the best gear, the issues like having the biggest and nicest house in our town. These are all masks. The Romans were the same, the Jews and the Gentiles. They all bought nice things to hide behind. They got themselves into life's debts. Yet near the end of the story, God shows us how we can pay all of life's debt back, how we can clear this credit card. God asks Abraham to go to the top of the mountain and sacrifice his own son that Sarah just had at the age of 101. Nature has just been redefined, and God says to Abraham, take your son to the top of the mountain, put him on the altar, and sacrifice him to me. Now, I can imagine the thought process going through Abraham right now. Like, this guy is probably messed up. A bit like how we were when lockdown came in. Really confused, not sure what's going on. How are we going to get out of this? He was probably arguing in his mind of what God may be or may not be doing at that moment. Yet God puts Abraham in a situation that nowhere at all is he able to get out of it. He has to rely on God. Abraham has to rely on God to get out of this situation. There are no more masks to buy or put on. He can't hide behind anything. His son, as they are walking up this mountain, says to Abraham, Dad, why have we not got the sacrifice? Why have we not taken the lamb or the goat from where our livestock is to sacrifice? And Abraham says this in faith, Son, God will provide the sacrifice. Knowing full well what God has asked him, he says to his son, God will provide the sacrifice. Abraham's faith comes through right at the last moment. Abraham, just before he sacrifices his son, God calls out to Abraham and says, Abraham, stop! I provided a sacrifice. And there, near the altar, a small lamb entangled in a thorny bush is there to be sacrificed. Just like years later, God sends his own son with a crown of thorns on his head to be sacrificed once and for all our life's debts to be paid, for all our life's credit cards to be paid off. And so this week's message of hope is that God can do all things. Paul says to the people in Rome at this time that life's credit card is not based on works or doing good things or paying for the best things. Life's credit card is based on faith. Like Sarah having a baby at 101, God will do a miraculous thing in your life. When we're switching on the news and it's looking like the world is falling apart, when people are rioting on our streets, wrongly or rightly for their own rights, when people are fighting the police, when shops are being raided, when there seems to be destruction all over this world, God is saying, I can do all things. I can still come through. Or maybe it's more in your home. Maybe it's more into your life. Maybe your financial debt is bigger than you think you can afford to pay off. God says, I can do all things. Or maybe it's down to your health. Maybe it's past the point of no return. Maybe you got the diagnosis that you're going to die from cancer in a month or two. But God says, I can do all things. Maybe your relationship with your partner has fallen apart. Maybe they have committed adultery on you. God says, I can do all things. Because with man, this is impossible. But with God, all things are possible. So like Paul says to the Romans, I say to you today, to pay off life's credit card requires one thing. One thing. It requires faith in Jesus Christ. To get rid of life's debts and the feeling of emptiness, anxiety, fear, depression, feeling low and down requires one thing to solve all these things. Faith in Jesus Christ. Because when you have faith in Jesus, you allow him to pay your life's credit card. Because Paul later writes to a different people group, I can do all things through him that strengthens me. The him is Jesus. The him is God Almighty. This verse is what I want to leave you with this week. This is this week's message of hope. When you have faith in Jesus Christ, not only do you pay off your credit card, but you can do so much more. You can do all things that are normally impossible. They become possible because then you have God inside of you that can do all things. So you can then do all things. Get that life's credit card paid off and have faith in Jesus. And if you want to know how to do that, why don't you contact me? Why don't you send me an email? Jason Content, CONTENT @recchurch.co.uk. I'm going to put that in the comments in case you want to know more, in case you want to know more on how to pay off life's credit card. Perhaps this message this morning has really spoken to you. Perhaps what you're going through, I may have touched on today. But the thing is, it's not me that's touching on it. It's God that touches on it. You see, when I first walked into church, I had 4 or 5 things wrong in my life. No one knew about them. I walked in with my mask. I walked in with such an aura that life was fine. There was one person that knew, and that was God. He knew everything that had gone on. I wasn't a Christian at the time, and I'd only prayed 3 or 4 weeks before I walked into this church. And I sat down and I listened to a similar sermon to what you're listening to today. And in that time, the woman stops preaching and says, there's someone in here where you've got many pieces wrong in your life, but God is going to put those into a tapestry and turn you round to go and help others. And I found that emptiness feeling was gone. I was chasing all these things. I was wearing all these masks. I speak from experience. I do not speak from a place that I do not know nothing about. I speak from a place of experience because I have tried meditation. I have tried all these different things. I've tried mindfulness. Before stepping into church, I tried everything. Before having a life with Jesus, I tried everything. I went to bars, I went to clubs, I went to chase all these things. I wanted to buy an Audi TT, the nice black version that everybody wanted at that time. I tried all those things. And yet, when I walked into church and I found a relationship with Jesus, it's all gone. I am full. I feel full. In this time, I've watched people freak out. In this time of COVID, I've watched people freak out. And yet, in this time, I felt closer to God. Because each and every morning, I now have a relationship where I can wake up to. I have a relationship that I can open my Bible and I can speak to Jesus. I have a relationship through prayer, consistently through prayer every day, where I'm able to talk to Jesus. And it's because I made one decision many years ago, 8 years ago, in a church. And I said that I want to pay off my life's credit card. And all things were sorted. And so I ask you today, if you want that for your life today, then email me, jasoncontent@recchurch.co.uk. Let's have that conversation. There's a simple prayer that you can go through, and we can begin this journey together. And this is what I leave you with today. You can do all things through Jesus who strengthens you, because God can do all things. It's that simple. And so if you're able to leave a comment now and let's have a chat and a talk, that'd be fantastic. If this talk has helped you, please post it in the comments. I want to hear from you, because I know that even today, there are still people having issues. There's still people having and battling this emptiness feeling. So please do speak to me. We also have a group that you can join as well. The link to the group is here, going across your screens right now. So if you want support at this time, you can join our group at our church. We'd love to have you and love to have new people come on. Morning, Paul. Morning, Colette. Did anybody find that helpful? Did it inspire you? Be great to know if it helped you today. Hi, Alan. Okay, well, I'm going to head off because I've got a few things to be doing. So enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the sun of the Sunday. See, it only takes 43 minutes. You don't have to skip this. This is what I'm on about. Just because life is opening up, because shops are opening up and parks are opening up, don't skip this, because this here is what helps you through life. When problems come, it's this that helps you, not going out buying all these things, different masks and all that. It's this that helps you. I know it from personal experience. So yeah, enjoy, have a good Sunday, and have a great week, and I'll hopefully see you next week.